Give me 1 second.
What I'm going to focus on today is just some basic stuff about setting up hives, about the bees, and then if you all have any questions afterwards, we can answer those. This is just a picture here of myself and my daughter in our bee suits, and then some of our hives down in one of the bee yards. One real important thing, if you're going to set some bees up, is you need to not skimp on your protective equipment. Meaning you need to have a suit. Some people just have a veil that they wear, but I like the whole suit. And even with the suit, if you get the bees, if they get kind of aggravated with you, they can sting even through the suit. And then you need gloves, and I have right here, this is my daughter's suit, and you can see it's like a full, covers your full body, and you need to make sure that you have boots that you can tuck them into, because you definitely don't want the bees to like fly up your pants. And you also want to have gloves like these, which are gauntlets. Because if you have shorter gloves, what will happen is the bees, when even if they're not like mad or whatever, they will be crawling all over you and get up in the glove, and you can get stung in your hand. And of course, if you're allergic to bee stings, you don't want to mess with them. But generally, they're pretty docile, because the bees that we have are called Italian bees. There's different breeds of bees. The Italian ones, they're good honey producers, and they're pretty docile as long as the queen is there. Like, if you get in a hive and kill the queen by accident, then they will really get aggravated with you. And for their resistance to diseases, they're sort of like in the medium range. And then you've got like Russian bees, which are, the Italian bees is kind of like your, the bee that you think of, your traditional one with the yellow and black stripe. Whereas the Russian bees, those are more of a black color, and they're more aggressive, but they're also more resistant to disease. So maybe we can go to the next slide, please. Okay, here's, this is a picture of some of our hives here, and you can see there's different boxes, and I have a hive right here, and the lower box, and on these you see there's two big ones at the bottom, and then above those are two boxes that are a bit smaller. And these lower ones, this is the brood chamber. So this is where the queen is down here with all the bees, and she's laying all kinds of eggs and stuff down there. And then the boxes on the top, those are medium honey supers, which is this box right here. And this is what you would, this is where you would get your honey that you would harvest. And you got some different equipment here. This is what you call a top cover. Keeps the hive dry. And then you got this. This is the inner cover. And this is important because you need to have a good circulation of air through your hive for the bees. Because if they don't have a good circulation of air, the hive is not going to do well. And then they make there's different kinds of hives. These are what we use is called Langstroth. And this guy was a Lutheran minister, and he designed these hives, this style of them, back in the 1850s. And they make them in two different, there's two different configurations of them, either 8-frame or 10-frame. And these are the 8-frame, and I got 8-frame because when the bees are in there and they get honey in them, they get pretty heavy. Because each frame, the smaller ones, they can weigh like 3 pounds each, and the bigger ones can weigh like 7 pounds. So it can get real heavy if you're trying to lift these things. So I didn't want to have to lift so much weight. And this is a piece of equipment that you definitely want to get when you have beehives, and it's called a frame grabber. And what you can do is you can just go in here and pull the frame out. And there's 8 of these frames in here. And you can see the bees kind of got into it a little bit. They started to build out a little bit of wax on here. And this piece that's in here is called the foundation. And there's two different kinds of foundation that you can get. You can either get a plastic foundation, or what I got in here is wax foundation. The bees like the wax foundation better because it's made of beeswax, so it smells good to them. Some people use the plastic foundations because it can be reused an unlimited number of times. But with the plastic foundation, you have to make sure after you install it in the frame, you have to make sure you rub it down with beeswax. Otherwise, the bees won't do anything with it. And a lot of people do have, when there are a lot of beekeepers, when they're using that plastic foundation, they have problems that the bees won't be interested in it and won't build out. And the reason why this frame grabber is so important is the bees, when they get in, you can see these are kind of sticky. And aside from the wax, they make this stuff, if you were to get up here and see, it's kind of a tan color. It's called propolis. And this stuff is like glue. And in ancient times, they would use this stuff like on their ships, like if you had a hole in it or whatever, like in between the boards. And this stuff is real sticky, and I mean, when the bees are in there, you can't just pull that thing out with your hand. You need that grabber to pull it out. So we go to the next slide, please. Okay, here's us putting on our suits, and you can see I got the rubber boots on. I can tuck the suit in there so I don't get the bees flying up my leg, and that's my daughter Irene right there. Okay, you can see the hives in the background over there. Okay, next slide, please. Okay, now there's one way that you can, when you start out with bees, is you can get what's called a package bee, and that's what I have here. Is I got 5 packages of bees, and each package bee has 3 pounds of bees in a container with a jar of sugar syrup, which is what they eat, and the queen bee is in a little wooden case with the drones in there. And what I did was, I have a place up in the mountains past Charlottesville where I get all my equipment and the bees, and if you buy a package bee, they cost probably around $200 or $300, and it's important once you pick up the package bees that you install them in the hive right away, because it is stressful for the bees to be kept like this. So what I do is I already have the hives all set up and waiting for them, so that as soon as I get home with those packed bees, I install them in the hive right away. So we can go to, you can see I'm carrying them down, the 5 bees, and we can go to the next slide. Okay, now you can see I'm getting the hive ready, and you can, right on this one here, you can see I already dumped them in. And what I'm putting on the top of that other hive there is a what's called a top feeder. And when you put the package bees in, initially you have to close the hive up so they can't get out. Because if they can get out, they'll like fly off and you'll lose them. So you got to keep them in there for like 1 to 3 days, and you want to have it so that they have something to eat. So you have this thing called a top feeder, which I didn't bring one, but it goes on top, and you fill that with the sugar syrup, which is just really, when I mix it up, it's just sugar and water. You mix that together and put it in that feeder, and then the bees will come up through here in the middle, and there's like a hardware cloth, and they can then come down the sides and they drink that stuff. So you can see here I'm installing the different, installing the bees in the hive. Okay, we can go to the next slide. Okay, now you can see in my hand over there I've got the little wooden thing where the queen is in there. And I should have probably brought one of those too, but it has openings on both ends with a little cork. So what you have to do is you carefully take out one of the corks and you put a marshmallow in there. Because you can't just put the queen in there with the bees, because they may not be used to her and they would kill her. So with that marshmallow, you'll like wedge that between the frames, and then they have several hours where they're like eating that marshmallow. So by the time that she gets out of there, they have gotten used to her smell and everything, and then they're ready to do the things that she needs. So you can see over here, you can see how the package bees, you see the can right there, that's the sugar syrup that I was talking about. And then all you do when you pull that sugar syrup out is you just dump the bees on the hive. And of course, you're not going to get every bee. There's going to be some losses, but you try to get most of them in there. We can go to the next slide. So you can see right here, I'm wedging the queen bee in between the frames there, and then in these slides here, I'm dumping all those bees out right into the hive. Does anybody have any questions so far about it? Yes, sir.
Yes, you like some African queen bee.
Could you speak a little louder?
So like some African queen bee.
Oh, and the marshmallow you talking about?
No, I should have brought this little thing with me. It's a little block of wood, maybe about this big, and where you buy it, they have drilled it out on the inside. It has a piece of screen over it, and there's holes in both ends, and they have put the queen in there with some of the drones, and it's sealed on both ends with a cork. So you got to pull the cork off, and then when you get the cork out, you stick the marshmallow in there. Okay, and then you would stick you stick it in there, and then the bees will eat that marshmallow because it's made out of sugar. Did I explain that? So you, okay. Any other questions so far?
Yes, sir.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you have to smoke the bees first? Like,
Smoke the bees.
That's a great question. When you open the hive, like let's say there's already bees in there, you want to give them a little smoke. You don't want to overdo it, but the smoke, what it does, and there'll be a picture of the smoker, is it calms the bees down and they can't like really sense you're there. So once I got the bees in there, what I will do is, because there'll be bees everywhere, I will smoke them so they all go down in the hive and get off the outside, so that when I put the inner cover, because like when you put the bees, there'll be like bees coming all over the side here and stuff. So you'll smoke them so they'll go in, so that when you put this back on here, you don't crush them. Okay, and let's say if this hive had bees in it, and when I took the top off, this right here would all be full of bees. So I would give them a little bit of smoke so they would go in there and fly off, because they'll think that you're like a forest fire or something. Okay, and they want to get away from that. So then there's not so many bees that you have to deal with. Did that answer your question? Does anyone else have a question? Yes, sir.
So the drones are in the little box with the queen?
Yes. Yeah, because generally, like if you have what the bees naturally will do, the queen bee, is once she hatches, she will then, because you hear like people talk about they lose their hives because the hive swarms, and that's swarming. That's how the bees reproduce themselves. So what will happen is in the spring and summertime, the bees will make what's called a queen cell, and there's different ones. They're either like in the middle of the frame or at the bottom of the frame. And when the queen comes out, she's what's called a virgin queen. So she can't produce anything. She can't lay any eggs or anything. First, she has to mate with the drones. So what will happen is she will fly out of the hive with the drones, and then what will happen is if you don't catch like the queen cells in there before the queen comes out, then when she flies out, like a lot of your bees will follow her. So you could lose, a lot of people, if you talk to other beekeepers, they will lose their hives because of swarming, which means like during the time they have not gone in there. And when I see the little cups where they're doing it, a lot of times I'll get rid of the cup before the queen is in there. And if I find one where they've already laid, she's in there and she's developing, you can then split the hive and put that queen cell and make a new hive with it. That's one of the ways, aside from catching a swarm, that's one of the ways that you can make a new hive. Did I answer your question? Okay, great. Yes, sir.
why did you want to be a beekeeper?
Why? Well, we were thinking about, because the job market is not really very good, and the best way to, like looking for a job, a lot of the stuff around is like a minimum wage type of thing, where you don't have any type of future in it. And we were looking for something that like something that we could do that not everyone else is doing. And honey is really in demand, and also, there's also a lot of demand for bees, like people wanting to buy bees. And there's not, certain businesses that you want to do, like if you're in the city that you want to start a business, you got to go through all these different departments, and there's all this paperwork and stuff. Whereas with bees, there's not all this government regulation that ties you up. So that's kind of, we were like looking for something that we could do as a business, that we could build out, and that's kind of how we got into it. I mean, we did study it. We didn't just like, some people just like go on eBay and buy a beehive and wonder why the bees aren't doing too well. We did some studying first and that kind of thing before doing it. Okay, back up. Yeah, that can be, bears can be a big problem, and we're lucky because where we live, our neighbor, he has all the land around us, and he has cows, so he's got an electrified fence. So we got like at least two rows of electrified fence, so it would be kind of difficult for the bear to get in there. But that is definitely, I mean, if you get a bear get into your beehive, that bear will, he will tear everything up. It'll be like a total loss. So, but fortunately where we live, that's not one of the predators. The main predator that we have a problem with is moths.
Y'all read about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the moths are the worst one. Yes, sir. Excuse me? Just what cost? Okay, your equipment that you would get, which is the suit, the smoker, you gotta have a bee brush, the frame grabber, and this right here, which is the Hive tool, which you need to, because the boxes, they'll like glue this all up, so you needed to pop the boxes open and to get in the frames. You could probably spend like $200 to $300 on that. And the hives, like we build I buy all the stuff, the unassembled, and assemble it all, so that this is just wood, and I assemble the frames with the foundation. You're going to spend like, for one hive, meaning just what you see here plus the cover, that'll be in the frames and the foundation with the wax foundation like I got, that's like probably about $200, okay? So, that's the cost of it. Now, there is a state program where they call it the Beehive Grant program, where they will give you up to $2,400 a year to be a beekeeper. And that was one of the things that we kind of thought, oh, well, we'll have the state pay for all of our equipment. The problem is that they don't pay. So you will like wait like 3 years to get paid by them. So I guess, like if you're a big company, they pay you right away, but if you're just like mom and pop, you can like get it back a line. Like Petersburg, they owe all kinds of small contractors and stuff. A lot of money to put people out of business. So, any other questions? Yes, sir. Yeah, go ahead.
So like, if you like accidentally mess something up and like the bees they start flying away, what would you be able to do? You chase them fly away?
Or you mean in order to get them to come back?
Yeah.
Well, they will. The bees will go wherever the queen is. Okay. So I'll show you. There'll be some pictures here in a bit of a swarm. So like if you're going in the hive and you've already got an established hive, there'll be like bees flying everywhere. And as long as you don't kill the queen by accident, or the queen is in there, they will stay wherever she is. So I saw like a news thing where like some guy had like some bees in his car. The queen got in his car. He's driving around. There were these like bees like following him all over the neighborhood. So yeah, wherever that queen is. Wherever the queen is, that's where the bees will go. Yes, ma'am.
Have you ever accidentally
Well, that hasn't happened to me, but it can happen because, I mean, she does look different. But with all those bees around there, you might not see her. You'll be putting the frame and squish her. And what you need to do then is get a new queen in there. Meaning, you can like order a queen. Usually they cost, like with shipping and stuff, like $50. Or if it's the right time of year and you have some queen cells, or if there's queen cells in the hive, you just leave it alone, and the new queen will come in there and take over.
Chris.
But if you don't have a queen in there, the hive is going to die out.
Go ahead, Chris.
Well, they don't like count them. They sell them, and they say 3 pounds, so it's 3 pounds of bees. So I mean, it's a lot. You can see there's a pile of them. Can we go to the next slide? Maybe there's some better. You can see, like right there where I'm dumping them out. It's a pretty big amount of bees. And you can see, like I was talking about the gloves. You see, I don't have the gauntlets on. I have just like work gloves. So I kind of learned the hard way that you need these gloves right here that go all the way up and have the elastic on them. Because I kept having these bees go up in my gloves. And then you just have to stop what you're doing and like run off and try to get the bees off you. Yes, sir.
How many times have you got stung?
A lot. Yeah. A lot. I mean, they'll like sting through your clothing. I'm not that allergic to it, but if you're allergic to the bee stings, a person can go in and shop from that. And so you gotta, that's why you have to be careful. I mean, if you don't like being stung, then you don't want to mess with these bees. Yes, sir.
What does a bee brush do?
Well, what you use the bee brush for, like, say for example, you're putting your hive back together, and let's say on this side there's still like a couple of bees on there, then what you would do is you brush them from the rear to get them to move. So you just do like this and they fly off, and then you can put this on there without crushing, because when you're in the beehive you don't want to crush a bee, because the bees, a lot of things they do is with scent, so they will smell that the bee got crushed and they'll get real agitated and be like flying all over the place. So if you can be gentle with them and don't crush any of them, then it's easier to work for them. And also, like, say you want to put it together and there's a couple bees like up here, then you like brush them off so you can put this piece right back up here and not have a dead bee like smushed under here. And you'll hear them when you smush them, because you'll hear like a crack.
Alright, Jay.
Right here. No, go ahead. Because they don't always do it. So sometimes they will, like, and usually if I have other clothes on under it, it won't be such of a problem. But in the summertime, if it's real hot and you get in the hive, I mean, I'll be sweating like crazy if I put on that bee suit and have other, like have other clothes under it. So it's more comfortable if you're out there working in the bee yard for a couple hours not to have so many clothes on under that bee suit. So if you don't have other clothes on, they will definitely sting, or like they can even get through the glove, like through the, if one of them lands on the finger and stings and flies off and the stinger is stuck in there, and then you like grab something and push against that stinger, you get that stuck in your hand. I've even had like a dead bee where you don't want to even handle a dead bee because you can get stung by a dead bee. Yes, sir.
You have to, like, every time you go out there, you gotta wash your suit every time you get back.
Could you repeat that, please?
You gotta wash your bee suit every time you get back.
I should probably wash it more often than I do. But it would be good to. And also, you can see it gets this propolis. You will get that on there, and that stuff won't come out. It's kind of like a tan color. So But yeah, it'd be good to wash it more often for sure. Yes, ma'am.
How many eggs do you think does it take?
That's a good question. I don't know for I can tell you that the queen can live like 5 years, and you will have like two of these deep boxes. So if not all queens are like as good as every other queen. Sometimes like some queens lay real good and other ones don't do so good. But if you have let me find one of these. You can see on this frame right here, they have kind of built that out. And a good queen, she will like lay all up in here, and then around the edges you will have honey that they eat. And you might have 4, 5, 6 of these with both sides that she has laid. So it's a lot that she will lay. I mean, maybe thousands of them a day. Because the queen can live 5 years, and she's also the only bee in there that can sting. Like a normal honeybee, once they sting you, the stinger comes out and they die. All the female worker bees, but the queen bee, she can sting you any number of times, and it doesn't kill her. She just keeps on going. So the worker bee lives maybe like 60 days or so. So she's always having to lay a lot of new eggs so that there's enough bees in there to take care of what she needs to have taken care of. Yes, ma'am.
How can you tell the difference between a queen cell and
Excuse me?
How can you tell the difference between a queen cell and a regular cell?
That's a really good question. Okay, you can see on here, this is all the comb that they have built for the worker bees of females. Okay, that they're the ones that you will see like out in your garden on flowers or whatever. And then a little larger comb, which I don't think I have any example of that, but there will be a picture of it. It's called drone comb, and the larger is for the male bees. And the only purpose that the male bees have is that they mate with the queen, and then in the wintertime they kick them out of the hive. And then the queen cell, what that looks like, it's like a peanut. It would either be like in the middle here or at the bottom, and it's like the size of a peanut. And it would be on here. So you can't, if it's on, I don't have an example to show you here, and I don't even think I have a picture of one, but if it was here, you would know it.
It'd be different.
Because it looks like a peanut. Okay, maybe we can go to the next slide here. Okay, here's some more close-up pictures of all the bees in that package. Maybe we can go to the next one. And there's some more bees.
Everywhere.
Yeah. Yeah, and you can see how even after you dump them out, there's still like bees hanging out on the outside there. And you can see they filled across the whole top of this box here. Yes, sir. Could you please repeat that? Okay, good question. There's a lot of different kinds of insects like that, and the wasps are larger. And I don't have like an identification thing here, but the bees are maybe about that big, and the wasp will be longer, and the hornet, that's even bigger. And the hornet is like black and white, and a lot of times the wasp will also be black colored. But the wasps, you see their nest, like if you look up in your barn, they might, it's just like a few cells, like maybe the size of a baseball or whatever. And the hornet, they make a nest that it looks like about the size of a basketball, like about this big. Yes, sir.
Do moths get inside the hive?
Yeah, they do. That's see, with our hives, we have a lot of pasture around it. So when the grass gets kind of high before you have cut it, if you go out there at night with a flashlight, you'll see the moths everywhere. And what the moths want to do is they want to get in there and lay their eggs. And once they're in there, if you don't catch them, they will like wipe out the whole hive. It'll all be full of like spider webs and stuff like that. So what you have to do is sometimes like if I'm going through and looking, you'll see like a moth has got up here, under here, and they will like, you'll see like strings where they like go eat through here, the little larvae of them. And the bees will try to fight them off, but they can't do it. So what you have to do, those frames, if you catch it quick enough, you take those frames out of the hive and put new frames in there and put them in the freezer. And if you put them in the freezer for a few days, that'll kill them off, and then you can put them back in a different hive and the bees will clean it up. But the moths will, that's how, so a lot of beekeepers, like if you read different books, they will talk about mites or their big problem, but our problem that we have is moths. We don't have any mites. I was in Waverly about a week ago and talked to a guy. He also had the same problem with moths as being the biggest predator. Yes, sir, in the back.
How big can a queen get?
Excuse me?
How big can a queen get?
Well, she's always about the same size. So, like let's say if a honeybee is about this big, she's like that big. And the back of her is like really long. I mean, if you see her, you can't mistake her. And she can fly. And one next to him.
How many years do we have, like, or years to go to this
Okay.
How many years do the bees live? How long?
No, the equipment. How long can you use the equipment?
Was that your question? How long? Okay. I mean, as long as you take care of it. So, like this is my second. This is the second one of these that I have for the hive tool, because the first one, the bees went after me. I was running away and dropped it, and then couldn't find it. It was somewhere on the ground. The woodenware, I put 3 coats of varnish on it, so it holds up pretty good. But if you didn't treat it right, I mean, you know, it'd be like any other, because this is not treated wood, like salt treated for exterior. And you really don't, when you get into beekeeping, you don't want to get someone's used woodenware, because the bees that they had might have had some kind of disease or something like that. So you don't want to put like healthy bees in woodenware that you don't know like what the other bees. So if you see like a advertisement somewhere where they're trying to sell some used bee equipment, you don't want to get that. You want to get new stuff so that you know that you don't have any type of pests in there, or like that there's no disease your bees can get from the woodenware from somebody else's bee. Because obviously, if they had bees, they wouldn't be selling their woodenware, and you know, why don't they have bees?
Sure.
How do you tell the difference between a girl bee and a guy bee?
Well, pretty much all of the honeybees that you see, all the ones that go from flower to flower, the worker bees, those are all females. And the drones, they're only like in the hive, and that's kind of about it.
They're like security guards.
No, they don't even do that. No, they're only there.